I'm John, and I've always been fascinated by horror movies, especially the old classics from the 80s. One day, while browsing through a thrift store in my hometown of Springwood, as I often do, I came across an old VHS tape of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Believe it or not, I'd actually never seen the movie before. Watching it just kind of felt off to me. I never really could put my finger on it, but I just left that one alone. But the cover art and the title caught my attention, so I decided to buy it. And it's been so long that any fear I had of it was long gone. As I watched the movie that night, I was captivated by the story of Freddy Krueger, a terrifying killer who preyed on the dreams of young people. The more I learned about Freddy, the more convinced I became that the legend was real. I became obsessed with uncovering the truth about Freddy Krueger. I scoured the internet for any information I could find, and even started visiting the locations where the movies were filmed, hoping to find some sort of evidence or something. My sister, who was always a skeptic, thought I was crazy for believing in such a ridiculous legend. But I just had this feeling that Freddy Krueger was more than just a character in a movie. After all my research and days of looking, I really never found anything. But then one night, something was calling me. It was just a feeling to get up and get in the car. So I did. Without even thinking about it, I found myself driving to an old industrial part of town that really had been abandoned. I drove around for a little bit, but, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was about to drive off, pretty much scratching my head like, what the heck am I doing out here? And then an old, dilapidated building caught my eye, and I could swear that I saw a light coming from the attic of this building. The building had been clearly dilapidated, hidden among a stand of tall trees. It was a tall, Victorian-style house with a peaked roof and a wraparound porch, but it had clearly been abandoned for many years. The paint on the exterior was peeling and faded, and the windows were covered with layers of grime and cobwebs. And as I approached the house, I could hear the cracking of the porch boards beneath my feet. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should turn back. Like, this is crazy. But curiosity got the better of me, and I pushed open the front door and stepped inside. The inside of the house was even more run down than the outside. The floors were covered in layers of dust and debris, and the walls were peeling and stained, and the air was musty and stale. I made my way through the house, and I could feel the weight of history pressing down on me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. As I explored the house, I came across a box hidden in the attic where I saw the light. Inside the box, I found an old, battered fedora, a striped sweater, and a rusted glove with knives for fingers. I could feel the presence of Freddy Krueger lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. I could hear his raspy voice in my ear, urging me to give in to the darkness. I knew that I had to get out of there, so I turned and ran, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear the sound of Freddy's claws scraping against the walls as he was chasing after me, getting closer and closer with every step. I could feel the stinky hot breath of Freddy on the back of my neck as I stumbled through the darkness. My legs pumped harder and harder. I knew that I had to keep moving. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, I burst through the door of the old abandoned house and into the bright morning light. I had been there for hours, but it felt like I was only there for 20 minutes, and I was exhausted. I gathered every morsel of strength I had left and got up and ran to my car, looking over my shoulder, and there he was, in real life. I don't know how, but he escaped the dream world and entered reality. As I reached into my jacket, I grabbed my keys, but I lost my footing and I collapsed again. My keys now several paces back, and as I scoured for my keys, he was gone. Or was he? I grabbed my keys and I finally made it to the car, rushed in and slammed the door. But as soon as it shut, I realized I wasn't in my car at all. I was laying in bed, entangled in my sheets. Was it a dream? It was the next morning, and I felt like I hadn't slept at all. In fact, I felt completely exhausted. As I sat up, I shook my head, trying to process such a vivid dream. But there was a sense of peace, sunlight beaming through the windows, birds chirping, And I thought to myself, maybe this is why I never watched the movie in the first place. And maybe it was time to put it all behind me. I did a quick stretch and headed towards my closet to grab my clothes and get ready for the day. As I was about to reach in and grab my jacket, I noticed something. There was a slash mark going alongside the back of it. And behind the jacket, there it was, the old box from the dream, with a note on it, written in Freddy's maniacal scrawl. The note said,
"Miss me?"